Hello, let me check. Okay. Hello, I am doing a book review that took me so long because it took me a while to read it. It was recommended to me by and again I don't know the name, someone who watched my videos, Loony-Bin trip. This is a memoir written by a writer, not just someone who has or had bipolar disorder, but an actual writer. And you can, that's one thing that makes this book a little bit different, is you can feel the style in the writing, which was something I did enjoy about the book. But it's not very educational or formative about the disorder itself, but it is very specific about her experience having been on lithium for some time after being involuntarily hospitalized at some point and put on lithium, and she stops taking it and what happens subsequently. So that's what it's just about, that section sort of specifically, the aftermath, and she is again involuntarily hospitalized, and anyway, the main points that she's getting across, that she's putting out there, and that she experienced, is how once you are diagnosed and you have that label, especially at first, friends and loved ones, acquaintances, everybody, they watch your every move, read into every behavior, and put way too much into the power of medication and psychiatry. You know, I am a person that believes that certain severities of bipolar disorder require some medication, and I do respect good psychiatrists, but I believe that just important is other things too that we do for ourselves. But a lot of times family, the first thing they'll say if they suspect a mood episode is, have you been taking your meds? When did you last see your doctor? Are you going to therapy? You know. And instead of discussing with you why you might seem sad or why you might be behaving a certain way, it's automatically going to the treatment of the disorder, when for all they know, it's you're angry about something legitimate, for real. Also, and this one is, she gets to get across quite poignantly when she's involuntarily hospitalized and people like do an intervention, they come to her, and how helpless she feels and powerless she feels, that she, you know, it was painful to read in places, and when you have absolutely no, you know, as adults we feel so free and in control, and you have this mental illness written on your forehead, people can come along and say you're a danger to yourself, you're making bad judgment calls, and then poof, you've lost complete control of every decision in your life. And it's just was kind of uncomfortable to read, so that right there made it worth reading. The beginning was a little hard to get through because I wasn't quite sure what this had anything to do with having been diagnosed with the disorder, but it does play in later. Um, Also, when people find out, like, you've been hospitalized and you're taking meds and stuff, everything that you had done before that had been taken seriously or considered seriously is now, its weight is a lot less. Your ideas get blown off a lot more as just somebody with a crazy idea. It's just all of a sudden you were legitimate, and then all of a sudden you aren't, even though you're in your normal mood self and your ideas are sane or your emotions are sane. Anything you do, any project you do is looked down on as like a hobby to help treat your disorder rather than a legitimate passion or something, like you're basket weaving or something. No offense to basket weavers. But like, people might take my video making of bipolar lightly. Oh, that's nice, but when it's really a very serious thing for me and important. And she also talks about cleaning up your mess after episodes. Oh my goodness, and the shame and humiliation you feel when you run into those people that you messed up things with while you were in an episode. Ugh. And especially if you're in a heavy depression following a manic episode, it is really hard to clean up after that, since you can barely move and think. And lastly, part of a whole theme of the book is people using your disorder, medication, things like that, to manipulate you. And it happens for whatever reason, whatever they're getting out of it. Manipulating you emotionally, legally, medically, blackmailing you into keeping, like, if, remember what happened last time you didn't take that medication, I don't care what kind of side effects, I'm going to leave you if you don't, blah, blah. Stuff like that. That's a big theme. So there are a lot of really important things addressed in this book, as well as it being written well. There are some graphic descriptions of, like, a horse and stuff, but sometimes when you're manic, you get a little more graphic than you usually do, and I just think it might make some people feel a little uncomfortable. But and I found it odd myself at first, but when I understood the context, that it actually made sense. And she writes this book all like, yeah, I have the disorder and this is what happened, and don't make the same mistake I did. And then she, like, at the very end, goes completely backwards and does this total soapbox against psychiatry and medicine and stuff like that. So it seemed kind of contradictory. And we do that. For so many years, we can be sure, and then for a year, we're like, I don't have this I never did. Some people have 1-2 episodes and never have any more. So lucky them. Anyway, sometimes it's denial. And that's it for Kate Millette, the Loony-Bin trip. I do recommend.